Hi there, thank you for watching this video. So today is Wednesday, the 11th of September, and in this video we'll be continuing the actual development of the Kivy Python cup game that we've started in the previous videos in the Python series. So where we're at is that we just need to add the sound effects. So if I just run the actual program now by typing in the command python and then cupgame.py, this is what we've got at the moment. We've got this game here, and we can just try and guess which cup the ball is in, such as in cup 1, so that's correct, so it's now scored 4, and the reason why it scored 4 is because it saved the score from the previous game. So if we just exit now, and then just restart the game again, so here it'll say 4 again. So if we try again, try a different round, so now it's failure, we guessed the wrong cup, so we try another one, and it's 5, so it's success. So to start the game, we just click on any button, and we just need to just guess which cup it is by clicking on the button, like that. And there it is, we scored 6. So the next step now is that I think we need to add some sound effects, and as well as that, before that, I think the code needs tidying up, because at the moment it's quite messy. There's a lot of repetition of the actual code that can be more streamlined into functions. So what I'll do, for example, we've got this repetition of the saving the score to the file. So every time it clicks on success, or every time it finds a success or failure, then all that can be just streamlined and rewritten in a single function, as opposed to having it repeated as if conditions. So what I'll do is that I'll just create a new function called result, like that, and we need to pass in the self and the first parameter. So what we'll have here is that instead of these repeated lines here, where it says self.label.text equals success, and then write the score to the file after incremented by 1, and similarly to set the actual labels to success or failure, what we can do is that we can say if the value equals the cup1 ref, then we just call the result function like this, result, and then we'll just pass in the parameter, which is success, like that. And then otherwise, if it's a failure, we just call the same function and pass in the parameter of failure, like that. And then for the actual contents of that result function itself, we can just copy from the existing code, like that. And then paste in. And then make sure that it's correctly indented. Oops. Like that. So it needs to be 8 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's correct. So we'll say that if the value equals success, like that, then we need to make sure that the label 1 text shows the word success, and it increments the total score, and then we need to declare that as a global. And then we need to write the file with the new score and then close the file. Otherwise, if it's failure, then we need to make sure that the text failure is displayed in label 1 or lab 1, like that. And we can delete the rest of the lines, like that. And similarly for the others. So I'll just save this and just run it. like that. So that's now got the latest score, which is 6. So if I just guess which cup it is, cup 3, that's correct, that's 7. Reset, and then cup 1, and that's correct, that's 8. Reset, and then cup 2, and that's incorrect, so that's okay. And we'll try another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, another one. Okay, so that's now got to number 9, the total score of 9. So that's great. So everything's working fine now as regards this extra function that we created to make the code slightly tidier. So now we need to add the sounds. So I've created the MP3 sound files for the failure and for success. So I just copy these into the same directory as the project, like that. And so here they are, failure.mp3 and success.mp3. And so in order to play the sounds, we need to import another Kivy library, or Kivy package, which is Kivy, and then .core, and then .audio. And then we need to import the sound loader. And then once again, we can create the objects for the sound at the class level, because it will be accessed by any method within that class. So we call the success sound, the success1 mp3 equals, and then we just call in the sound loader, and we'll load the actual file success.mp3. And similarly, for the failure, it'll load the failure.mp3 like that. So every time we have a success, we just need to play the success1 mp3. So that can be done in the result function. So we just add in a line that says self.success1 mp3.play, like that. So that's when it's success. Otherwise, if it's failure, then we just play the self.failure1 mp3.play, like that. So if we just run this like this, so I'll now guess the cup. I'll say it's in cup 3. So that's the sound of the failure, and then I'll just click on a button to reset, and I'll just guess it's in cup 1, that's failure, and I'll just click to reset, and I'll guess it's in cup 2, failure, and reset, and then I'll say it's in cup 1, success. Okay, so now we have success, and that's the sound of success. So I'll just click on this X here to exit, like that. So I think as regards the actual sound, that was slightly kind of laggy, because if you noticed, it continued playing after I clicked on the button to reset. So what we want to do is that we want to stop the actual sound of that MP3 file being played when we click on the reset button. So for that, we need to go to the function where it says button click. And in this one, when we need to click on the button again just to reset everything, to start a new game, we want to stop the audio so that we can have a clear reset of the 3 cups, as well as a clear reset of the sound. We don't want the actual failure or the success sound to continue after clicking on the button again to reset the game. So for that, we can just say if the mode state equals play, then we can do a test on the state of the audio. If self.success1 mp3.state equals play. If it's still playing, if it hasn't finished playing, we just want it to stop playing, then self.success1 mp3.stop, like that. And similarly, the same for the failure sound. If failure1 mp3.state is still playing, when we click on the button again to reset the game, then we want to stop the sound. So so that we have a clear, clean sound to start the actual new game, like that. So I'll just save this, and we just rerun it, like that. So currently we're on score 10, so I'll just guess it's in cup 2. Success. So I'll just click on another button to reset, and then cup 2. So now you notice that if I click on the button again to reset, the sound stops. So that gives it a clean, tidy ending to the previous game. So I think everything's working fine now. So now I'm quite happy with the game as it is. So I'm quite ready to compile this into an EXE file that we can run and distribute for other users on the Windows platform. So for this, we need to make sure that Pi installer is installed within the virtual environment. So if we're doing this within a virtual environment, then the Pi installer needs to be installed within this virtual environment. If we have multiple virtual environments, then we need to make sure that if we are creating the executable inside each virtual environment, we need to have a different Pi installer installed in each virtual environment. So for this, if I do a pip show Pi installer, so this is telling us that the Pi installer is installed in this virtual environment. So this will allow us to create the EXE without any Kivy module not found error messages. So we can now run the Pi installer command, which is Pi installer, and then space, and then minus minus, and then we want to create the one executable file rather than have to export everything into folders and distribute folders with the actual application. So we'll say minus minus one file. And as well as that, we don't want the console window to be showing whenever we start the application. So we'll say minus minus no console, like that. And we want to compile the file, which is cupgame.py, like that. And I'll just press enter, like that. And it does take a couple of minutes just to compile everything into the single .exe file. So it's created two directories, the build directory and the dist directory. So the dist directory is where we'll have the completed compiled .exe file. So we'll just wait a few moments for that to take place. Okay, so that took about more than 5 minutes, possibly 6 minutes, to create this cupgame.exe inside the dist folder. So if I click on that now, we'll see what happens. Okay, so now we have an error message. It says, failed to execute script cupgame due to unhandled exception. Unable to create a play bin. Consider setting the environment variable GST registry to a user accessible path such as registry.bin. So regarding this error message to do with the GST registry, which we found earlier, I've done some investigation, and it looks like this could be related to the GST player. And if we look on the Kivy website regarding the GST player, then it does say that there's a warning message saying that this is an external library and Kivy does not provide any support for it. It might change in the future, and we advise that you don't rely on it in your code. So we haven't done that, but what I've noticed is that there is a GST player folder inside the Kivy library, inside the virtual environment. So if you have installed a virtual environment and you're using it inside the virtual environment, then this will be underneath the folder of the virtual environment. Otherwise, if you're using Kivy in your general environment, then it'll be underneath the Python folders for your Kivy inside the general Python environment. But as I'm using a virtual environment, then my virtual environment folder is KV240903, and underneath that we have a folder that is called lib. And underneath that we have a folder called site-packages, and underneath that we have a folder which is called Kivy, like that, and underneath that we have another folder that's called lib as well, and underneath that we have a folder that's called GST player. So what I'll do is that I'll just rename that to XXX and then underscore underscore like that, to make sure that we don't use this inside the compilation. And so what I'll do now is that I'll just go back to the terminal, and I'll just recompile the .exe file again. But before I do that, I just need to make sure that I delete the actual folders that were created as part of the compilation process. So that is the build folder and the dist folder. So I'll just delete those folders, and I'll just rerun the compilation again. So just to confirm, as you can see, the folders are no longer showing, or no longer present. So I'll just rerun the compilation process, which is pi installer, and then minus one file, minus, and then no console, and then the main module of the Python application, which is cupgame.py, and then press enter. And that took about 5 minutes or so. So if we go back to the folder and then click on the dist folder and click on the cup game, so now we have the game itself but without the images. And if we click on a button to start, then there's no sound either. So I guess that if we copy the image files and the MP3 files into that folder, then that should be okay. So I'll just do that now, like this, and there we are. And we'll just try again. And there we are. So now if I just click on the cup 1, and then reset, and then cup 3, and then reset, and then cup 2, and then reset, and then cup 3, and then reset, and then cup 2, and there we are. So that's working fine now. So if I now copy the entire directory somewhere else, will it still work? So we'll find out. So I'll just copy the dist folder like that, and I'll just go to downloads folder and paste in like that, and I'll just click inside and try again on cupgame.exe. And there it is. And I'll say it's in cup 2 and cup 1, or cup 1 and reset, and cup 3 and reset, and cup 2 and reset, and cup 1 and reset, and cup 1, and there we are. So everything's working fine now, and we've compiled it successfully to the EXE, and we can now distribute this folder to other people using Windows, and they should be able to run it on their Windows system. So the next step now is to see whether we can do the same as an APK file to run inside an Android device. So in order to create an APK file for Android, it needs to be done inside Linux using a software called Buildozer. So I've got Linux installed on my local Windows computer as a WSL, or Windows subsystem for Linux. So here it is. I've logged into the Windows subsystem for Linux, and I'm at the home directory, like that. If I do a pwd, that is my home directory. So from there I can navigate to the folder where I've been developing the cup game. So I can do that now. So I need to cd to /mnt/c, and that takes me to the root directory of Windows, and then I need to go to users and then administrator, and then I need to go to the virtual environment subdirectory, and then the project folder where I've put the projects and then the folder for the cup game. So that is the folder where the cup game is located inside the Windows directories. So in this Windows subsystem for Linux, I have installed Python. I think Python comes installed or pre-installed by default inside Linux or certain distributions of Linux. So if I do a which Python, it doesn't find it. But if I do a which Python 3, so there's one that's located in the /user/bin/python 3. But the one I want to use is the one that is in the virtual environment which I've created. So I've created a virtual environment which is under Kivy 240905. So I'm back now to my home directory inside the Windows subsystem for Linux. So underneath my home directory there, I've got a folder for the Python virtual environment, which is called KV240905. And underneath that, there is a folder called bin. That is where the activate command is located. So if I just enter that now, so I now got the virtual environment activated. So if I now do a which Python, like that, or which Python 3, you will now notice that as regards Python and Python 3, they're both located underneath the folder for the virtual environment. So I'll be creating the APK file within this virtual environment. So we won't be able to run that cup game app inside the virtual environment because we don't have the desktop environment for the Linux inside this Windows subsystem for Linux because we just have the Windows desktop environment. So for example, if I were to type in Python 3 and then cupgame.py like that, then it'll come back with an error because it can't find the desktop environment for Linux, because the desktop environment that we're using is Windows, and that is a totally different system to Linux. However, we can still build the APK file within the Windows subsystem for Linux. If we go to the Buildozer website, it'll give us the instructions on how we can install Buildozer. And using this tool, then we'll be able to compile the APK file from the Python source code. So on the website, which is buildozer.readthedoc.io/en, we have this section here on how to create the APK file for Android using Windows. So it talks about, first of all, installing the virtual environment for Python. So we've done that already. And it talks about activating the virtual environment. So I've done that already. Then it talks about having to install, upgrade these packages here, which are pip, wheel, Cython, virtual env, and Buildozer. So I'll just do these now. So the first one is pip install upgrade pip and then after that we need to pip install upgrade wheel, and then Cython, and then virtual env, and then Buildozer. So obviously the computer needs to be connected to the internet for this to download and install. and after that we'll need to exit and restart the terminal, so I'll just do that now. So here is my new terminal inside the Windows subsystem for Linux, and then after that we'll need to run these commands here, like that. So I'll just do that now. So first of all, we need to run sudo apt update, like that. Obviously we need to be connected to the internet for this. And then we need to run sudo apt install -y, and then we have a whole list of different packages here. So it's git zip unzip open jdk 13 jdk and python 3 pip autoconf libtool. So we'll just do those first. Okay, it says unable to locate package open jdk 13 jdk. So for this I can do a sudo apt list and see what's available. So let's do a grep on open jdk. So we don't have 13 available, but we've got 11, 17, 18, 19, 21, and 8. So I think we'll just go for the 17 and see what happens. So that took about 10 minutes. So I'll just continue with the remainder of the packages, which are pkg config, zlib lg dev lib n cursors 5 dev lib n cursors w5 dev lib t info 5 cmake lib ffi dev lib ssl dev, and that's it. And then press enter. So that should have been a zlib1g instead of a zlib-lg. So that has now completed. So we now need to do a pip install. So for this, we need to go into the virtual environment, which is dot and then dot / and then the name of the virtual environment, and then bin, and then activate, like that. And then we need to do a pip install, and then -- upgrade, and it needs to be Python double equals 0.29.19 space virtual env, like that, and press enter. And now we need to make sure that the path contains .local / bin. So I'll just do an echo on the path and pipe that to grep, and then grep on .local. And so it's there already. So that is local or .local / bin. So that's there already. So we're now ready to run Buildozer. So for this, I need to just cd to the directory, which is /mnt c users administrator, and then / and then the cup game folder, like that. And so here's the content of that folder. So first of all, I'll need to run a Buildozer init like that to create the buildozer.spec file, which is this one here. So for this, I need to edit this in order to provide the specifications for the app, such as the title. We can call it Cup Game, and the package name can be Cup Game, and the domain can be com.mycompany, like that. And whatever else we need for this particular app, such as if we need to package, let's say, PNG files, we need to include MP3 files as well. And it's version 0.1. And so I think the rest is okay. So I'll just save this file. And so now we need to actually run the compiler. So it's Buildozer -v Android, and then debug. So if we wish to create an APK file, then it's debug. Otherwise, if we wish to create an AAB file for upload, let's say onto the Google Play Store, then it needs to be release. But as we're doing an APK file, so we'll set this to debug and then press enter. Just to mention that while waiting for the Buildozer to create or to compile the APK file, it's created these two new folders here in that folder. So we've got this Buildozer and we've got bin as well, in addition to the build and dist from the Pi installer that were created from before. So in the middle of that Buildozer process, or that Buildozer compilation into the APK, we now have this prompt to accept yes or no this agreement. So what exactly is this agreement? So this is the agreement with Google. This is the Android Software Development Kit License Agreement. So we need to agree yes to this in order to continue. So I'll just do that now by pressing Y, like that. Well, that build process has taken about over an hour, and it's come back with a failure. And as regards the failure, it looks like it occurred at this command here. So this isn't the first time that I've had issues with trying to build the APK file using Buildozer from within the WSL. So what I think I'll do now is that I'll continue trying to create the APK file, but rather than using the Windows WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, I'll do it in a system that is completely Linux, rather than being inside the subsystem. So that is what I'll do next. So I'm now on my Linux machine. So I've copied across the source code for the Cup Game Python application, and there they are. And we've got the py or the pi source code, as well as that we've got the PNG files for the images, and also the MP3 files for the audio, and we have copied across the total score.txt as well. So just checking, is Buildozer installed on this machine? Yes, it is. So what I'll do now is that I'll just do a Buildozer init, like that. And so that's now created the buildozer.spec file. So let's go inside and edit that. As regards the title, I'll change it to Cup Game. The package name is Cup Game. The domain is com.mycompany, like that. As regards the include extensions, I think we need to include some MP3 files, so I'll add the MP3 extension there. And anything else, I think that'll do for now. So I'll just save that and exit. And so we'll now run the Buildozer, and then -v for verbose. And then we need to have the Android for the Android platform. And because we need to produce the APK file, then it's debug. Otherwise, if we wish to produce the AAB file for upload onto Google Play Store, then it needs to be release. So I'll change that to debug for the APK file, and I'll press enter like that. So I reckon that this could take about half an hour. And just to mention that, as always, I think when we're doing these compilations like this, then we do need to be connected to the internet, because as you can tell, it's now downloading additional packages from the internet. Okay, so it's failed again, but it's now coming back with this error message saying that there isn't any main.py in the directory. So it looks like in order to build an APK file, or in order to build using the Buildozer, we need to have a main.py. So I'll just rename the cup.py to main.py. And given that we're in the Linux environment, I'll just make sure that it runs fine inside Linux. Like that. And there it is. So I'll just select cup1. And I can hear through my headphones that the sounds are working fine. Okay, so I'll just exit that. And so we'll just rerun the Buildozer command again. Like that. Buildozer -v Android debug. Okay, so the build process has finished quite quickly. It took about only 3 or 4 minutes for that to complete after I renamed it from the cupgame.py to main.py. Before that, it took about half an hour before it fell over with that error message. So if I now look at the directory, we now have the folder called bin, like that, and we now have an APK file in that folder. So what I'll do now is I'll just copy across to my mobile phone, and we'll see whether it works. So here is the cup game APK file on the top left. So I'll just tap on that, like that, and it's saying installing the app, and it's saying you can't install the app on your device. And normally this is because the API level is perhaps too high. So what I need to do is that I need to go inside the Buildozer file and change the API level so that it allows the API level of my phone. So now I'm back in the cup game folder on the Linux machine. So I'll just go and edit the buildozer.spec file and do a search on API. So I think I'll set the API to 33, the minimum API to 30, and the SDK to 30, and I think that should be sufficient. So I'll just save this and rerun the previous command, which is buildozer -v Android debug. So the Buildozer has finished, and that took about half an hour, and I'll just copy that over across now onto my phone as well. So there's a new version of the APK for the cup game now, so I'll just tap on that like that and select install. And then select scan app, and then select install. And then tap on open. And here it is at the very bottom. So I'll just tap on any one of them. Let's say cup 1. What about cup 2? Okay, so cup 1 was correct. What about cup 3? That's cup 2. I just tap on any button to reset, and I'll select cup 1, so that's wrong. And I'll tap on any button, and cup 3. Oops. If I just expand that, so I can't zoom in on that, so I'll tap on any button, and I'll say it's cup 3. that got cup 2. I'll just tap on any button and I'll say it's cup 3. Let's tap on any button, I'll say it's cup 3. Nope. Let's tap on any button, I'll say it's cup 1. I'll just tap on any button, I'll say it's cup 1. That's correct. I'll tap on any button, I'll say it's cup 3. I'll just tap on any button, I'll say it's cup 3. No. I'll just tap on any button, I'll say it's cup 2. Okay, so what I find is that when I'm tapping on the buttons themselves, it's always selecting 1 or 2. Whereas if I tap to, let's say, the actual far right of the screen of the phone, then it's cup 3. So it looks like it's stretching. The actual touch area is stretching across the screen, but the actual display of the buttons themselves, they're not stretching at all. So if I press on the buttons, cup 1 or 2, then it's always cup 1. But at least the app is working fine on the phone. So it looks like if we're developing for the mobile phone, then we need to bear in mind that it stretches across the screen, the width of the phone, so we might need to use the size hint rather than setting it to none each time. So at this stage, I think the video is long enough. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it useful and enjoyable. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Until next time, look after yourself and have a nice day.